What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TheDomCast, episode 60. And yes, today I actually knew the number of the episode. Not so much that it's a landmark number, but it is the day, the podcast, that we officially got the NBA back. It has been a long time coming. As a matter of fact, if you want to know exactly how long it's been, this is a stat that I did not. I knew it, but I didn't know it because we've been talking about how, yeah, it's been 4 months since the last NBA game. And I knew in my mind that that was the regular length of an off season, but I didn't realize that the stat comes from a page called The Basketball Insider. Check it out, Twitter, Instagram, and you put it into perspective. In between the Game 6 of the 2019 Finals and the opening day of this season, it was something like 130 days, I believe. I'm going off the dome right now. I don't have the stat in front of me. And if you look at the number of days between the last NBA game and today, I think it was something like 133. So just slightly more. And yeah, that was just shocking to me because when you normally have a regular offseason, this was excruciating. I mean, let's be real, right? The NBA just abruptly stopped one day. We didn't actually know if we were going to get it back. We didn't know what type of product we were going to get back. So in a way, it was more excruciating circumstances than an actual offseason where we have the draft and trades and free agency. Yet it didn't feel quite as long, and that's probably because life in general has just been going extremely fast these last 4 months. Like, I'm sitting here looking like, it's gonna be Halloween in November before we even know it. So I guess that probably has a lot to do with it. But I would venture to say that with the return of basketball, at least for me, I think it was one of the better days of 2020. I really do. It was the first day I woke up where it really felt like, well, I guess you would say since Corona, because things were kind of smooth sailing. Well, not exactly smooth sailing those first 3 months, obviously, but you get what I mean. There's pre-corona, and then there's the life that we live now, right? And since everything struck, it really feels like today was the first time I woke up with something of a routine, and something to really, really look forward to, other than what I do every single day, because I definitely think these circumstances made every day kind of blend together and seem the same. So today, I had a set time. I'm like, okay, I need to be in front of the TV at this time. I need to be not really taking notes, but jotting things down because I knew I was going to be doing the podcast tonight. And for that reason, we're pretty much gonna go ahead and jump into the NBA stuff first because, well, I'm already talking about it, A, and B, hell, I'm excited, bro. I'm excited, and I'm not gonna put all the little small topics before everything I have to say about the bubble. And there's some news, even just it's crazy, right? It all just hit at once. Like we're already getting NBA Twitter culture back, all the little arguments and whatnot, different lineups. Bol came out and had a debut. Did y'all know Bol was debuting? I had no, bro. Oh my goodness, that was a fucking shocker, man. That was a shocker. Jokic comes out at point guard, Bol inserted into the lineup. Again, it goes back to maybe a podcast or two ago where I was saying that we just did a whole offseason, and just slightly by like 3 days we beat the offseason of last year. And so I say you forget little things, and one of the things I absolutely forgot was that Bol was selected by the Nuggets, so what like 44th or something like that, and a bunch of teams passed him up because of that foot injury, and that they had him sitting there because I guess the injured rookie that I was paying the most attention to was Michael Porter Jr. So yeah, Bol, I had no clue. I just didn't, that for some reason that just didn't cross my mind. I saw him, I saw the highlights. I was watching the Magic and Clippers game, and all of a sudden on Twitter, because that was the other thing, I didn't even know that the Nuggets and Nuggets and fucking Wizards. Why are the Wizards here? Why are the Wizards in Brooklyn here? We'll get to that. I didn't realize that game was on at the same time as Magic and Clippers, so I'm scrolling through Twitter on a commercial break, and I see Bol highlights, and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh man, but I love it. We're already hyped for that, and the lineup changes. Just the little things that happen. The news cycle, right? The NBA news cycle. When that comes up, it's just constantly refreshing. And yeah, speaking, the updates are refreshing, and yes, this is a breath of fresh air. So this whole thing is refreshing. Damn, I don't even know where to start with actual topics. I guess I'll start talking about the bubble itself, because that's the most, that was the one thing we didn't have a clue what we were gonna get. I'm gonna say I had it going completely different in my head, and in relation to the situation that we are in and the way they had to put this together, I'm pleasantly surprised, man. I am pleasantly surprised. So in my head, for some reason, I don't know why, but the actual presentation of the bubble, I had it going way worse. I had it being way more silent inside the arena. I had the camera angles messed up in my head, probably because of what you see during Summer League. And so I don't know how to describe that camera angle, but it's not typically what you see. It's kind of like at a, I don't know how to describe it. It's just different, right? It doesn't look like an NBA game. And it also looks like they're just kind of at a practice court, you know what I mean? And that's what I had in my head. And so I was just having nightmares during the day. So daymares, is that a thing? No, it's not. Daydreaming. I was just kind of having these thoughts of like, damn, some team is going to win the championship this year. Or we might witness something as cool as LeBron's 4th ring or Giannis' first championship, and it's going to look like a fucking high school practice. That's what I was thinking. And bro, shout out to the NBA, man. Shout out to the NBA. I would say with the time that they had to put this together, because again, they only had an off season to go from the NBA's abrupt stop to, okay, now we're going to have a bubble environment in Disney, and we're going to try to make it as cozy as possible for the viewer at home, because I assume it's probably a little bit different when you're actually there. But the way they have it set up, they can create, they can make some illusions. They can make some illusions to draw you in, especially with the audio, right? So I really like the presentation. I like the lighting of the court. I like the way it's lit up. You can actually tell a difference, because sometimes the players fly out of bounds, and you can immediately tell a difference between the lighting on the court and when they're, you know, I don't know what you would call that little area. It's where they would normally be flying into people with popcorn and drinks and shit, right? It's an immediate difference. They've got screens set up that pretty much are all around the court. So behind the baskets and on the side where you actually see on the camera. So where the coaches and the bench are sitting, where the media people are, well, I don't know if those are really the media people. I think that's like the scorekeepers and whatnot, all the people that are doing work for the game. You see all of them there. That's another thing that I did not account for. How many people would actually be there, and the type of personnel that you need to run an NBA game. It's better than I had in my head, because again, I just had 5 players on the court. I had a bench in my head, the coaches, and that's really it. I didn't account for like anything else, right? It took me a minute to even recognize the referees today. Had it looking way different. There's actually a decent amount of people there, so it doesn't feel totally lifeless, you know what I mean? Again, it doesn't just feel like you're at like a high school or, you know, a D2 college practice. It does not look like that. So the other thing that they add to that, so the screens, they make great use of the screens. What they do with the screens, I'm describing this as if everyone doesn't have the ability to go on YouTube. I'm trying to get out what I actually like about it and what took me by surprise. They're making good use of the screens. They're using the screens to show like when a player scores, they have their graphic come up. I'm assuming it's things that you would see in the arena on like the Jumbotron and all the little screens that they have around the arena on there. Those type of graphics, they use the screen for that. During the Miami game, that was the first time I had seen they actually tried to use a live crowd. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It definitely threw me off when it first happened. So what'll happen is Miami might be going on a run or make a good play, or you know, they're bringing the ball up the court, and actually all around the arena with the screens, they show a live footage of the Miami Heat crowd. That was the only time I saw that. I didn't see that for the Magic and Clippers, did not see that for the Nets, although I didn't watch the entire Nets game. Who would? And yeah, other than that, we'll see. I think the NBA is testing a lot of things. I think they're testing a lot of things, rightfully so, with these scrimmages, because I think in the Magic and Clippers game, I thought I was going crazy today. The Magic and Clippers game was quiet. That's when it first was like, that was the first game you watch, and that's when it all kind of hit like, wow, this is a real thing. It was dead silent. I didn't hear anything. In terms of fake and artificial audio noises, crowd noises, that's what I'm trying to say. I didn't hear any of that, but you also couldn't hear the players talking much like I thought you would. That's another topic. There's just so much to go through with this. I thought we were going to be able to hear like in-depth player conversations. You really can't, especially if you were watching the Magic and Clippers, because the commentator was just going on and on. But later on, what game was it after that? It was I think it was the Nets and Pelicans. Yeah, the bit of the next. Yeah, it definitely was. So yeah, you had the Magic and Clippers, and you had the Nuggets playing. And then when I got to the Nets and Pelicans game, that was the first time I at least noticed the artificial crowd noises. I didn't hear that for the other games, and I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of throwing me, because a nice play would happen. Like Paul George had a nice reverse layup, and it kind of got me going. I was like, oh damn, but I didn't hear any reaction, you know. So that immediately throws you off, because you're looking for that crowd reaction. You're just used to hearing it. But in the Nets game, it was the first time I heard the crowd noises, and man, I think they're testing it, and I think they're gonna get better at it as it goes. That's what I'm assuming, right? But just from the little bit that I heard, that is pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool, because I heard some syncing going on when the Nets players would miss a shot. I think I heard a little bit of a change in pitch, so it wasn't just audio, it wasn't just crowd noise going on the entire time. I do believe for the most part it kind of was. It was just kind of background noise, but they did seem like they were testing out with syncing it with actual on-court events. And man, if they can nail that, that would be big, because the presentation, again, for the situation that we're in, I think the presentation is awesome, bro. I think the presentation is awesome. It definitely blew my expectations out of the water. And one thing that helps is that they have the screens, they have the nice lighting on the court, and they also have the benches, so you don't really see empty seating, is what I'm trying to say. You see these socially distanced team benches. You have all the people working the game behind the glass, and that's really all you see after that in the screens. You don't see a bunch of empty seats. Therefore, artificial crowd noises will not throw you off. That's one thing I did not know how they were going to do, because I had heard them talking about NBA 2K sound and, you know, tinkering around with crowd noises, and I was like, yeah, in a basketball game, how are you gonna hide seats though? That's gonna look weird. Are we gonna have like cardboard cutouts? Are we gonna have projections? But it actually works, because there's certain camera angles where you see the player's face as he's bringing the ball up the court. I saw them experimenting with angles, yeah, really, as they were bringing the ball up the court. It's like a low camera, and when it's all like that and you don't really notice, you can't really see where the seats are, the crowd noises is a nice addition. So I hope they get better at that, because I need something there when LeBron makes a poster. I can't just have a poster and then hear a couple of guys yelling in the background, which again is all I had in my head, man. This whole time coming up to this, all I had was like, oh damn, there's gonna be highlight plays and all we're gonna hear is a couple of guys on the bench. No, it seems like the NBA has really put some thought into this with technology, and again, shout out to the league, because they are consistently one of the leagues that are just really, it's funny, right? Like, they're good with technology, but they are complete shit when it comes to like the history of the game and their library of footage and all of that, because it should not be I shouldn't have to be like looking at 240p footage of something that I watched when I was in the 5th grade. For reference, when I was in the 5th grade, that would be like 2005. It's really easy to follow my my pattern that way, because my grade pretty much always matched the year. And so I shouldn't be looking for the Pistons and Spurs, and most of the footage I find looks like it looks like it fits on like a Game Boy SP screen, right? So they're shit at that. But again, I think with this little Disney thing that I think relatively did not have a ton of time to put together, being that, when did they even start talking about this? Was it like April or May? They've done a good job with it. The one thing that was actually kind of awkward in the Nuggets game, but then became better in the Nets game, I believe, was the PA announcer. So I believe it was during the Denver game, and I heard them try to get it. The PA announcer tried to get a defensive chant going. He said defense. Obviously that's weird, because like, who the fuck is gonna be chanting defense? Half the people in there have masks on, so I didn't really know what was going on there. But then later in the Nets game, that's something again I heard. The audio engineering came through, and there was actually defensive chants going on for them. And so things like that I think are gonna matter. Excuse me. Things like that I believe are going to matter as we get closer to the playoffs, as we get closer to the finals, or no, as we get in those things, not closer to. They're going to matter. They're going to matter, because that was one of the biggest fears coming in, was like, man, we're going to have this supposed to be super intense series between the Lakers and Clippers, and it's just going to be totally void of any kind of home court advantage. Now, for the players, it's not going to matter as much, but for the viewer, I think they can create some type of illusion. So again, that's where they use the screen. So if it's a Clippers home game, for the screens, they're going to be using a lot of Clippers graphics and whatnot. They're going to have their jersey, and the audio engineering is going to be tuned so that it's cheering for one team. At least it gives us some sense of the normal. Not that it truly matters. I don't think some audio engineered boos are really gonna throw LeBron off his game in that playoff series. You know what I mean? It's not gonna matter as much for them, but for the viewer and for tricking us and for creating that illusion, I do applaud the effort, and I am very excited to see, because I even heard the Magic commentator talking about it. He was saying amongst a million other things that he said today, that they said. They were talking about how the NBA, as this goes on and on, they're going to be deploying even more technology. Not sure what he meant by that. I'm assuming there's going to be more camera angles, because Adam Silver even came out, or some NBA official came out and said that they were going to be like never before seen camera angles, and I didn't really see anything super crazy today. So I think things like that, definitely the audio sounded like it was in beta today. It definitely sounded like a demo, so I think they're going to get better at that, better uses of the screens, and probably tinkering with it and seeing what people respond to, what fans like, what they don't like, that type of thing. But overall, look, for us true hoop heads, people who just love to watch basketball, people who just love the game, this is fine, bro. This is fine. Like I said at the beginning of this, we did an entire offseason and it didn't feel like it at all. It just did not feel. It went way faster. To be honest with you, last offseason, going from the 2019 finals to the 2020 season, that was actually more brutal. It really was. There was just some really long days, like without any NBA news, without anything, and it felt like the NBA season was off in this distant future where we were gonna have like duos and the Warriors didn't exist anymore. I actually, for some reason, just personally felt like that was way harder to wait for than it was for this, and so now that we're here and we have basketball back and we're gonna finish this season, I got over the crowd thing really quickly. Like, to hell with all that, right? We got basketball here. I just want the guys to be healthy and to compete. I thought the crowd was gonna mess with me a lot more than it did, but again, it has a lot to do with the NBA and the work that they put into this presentation. For instance, NBA Magic commentators, which is dropping all types of stuff, and one of the tidbits I heard was that there were supposedly 32 microphones under the floor, I believe. So that helps with the audio engineering, because again, it doesn't just sound like a practice. It doesn't really even just sound like a summer league game. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect transition into the player voices. I've mentioned that numerous times through this offseason, talking about, where are we going to hear LeBron talking to J.R. Smith? Are we going to hear guys cursing? Are they going to censor them? Turns out, with the magic that they're doing with this presentation, you can hear the players, but you really can't, though. It's nothing like we imagined it, bro. It's nothing like we imagined it. Even in the first game with the Magic and Clippers, that was relatively silent compared to when I was watching like the Heat and Kings later that day. You really couldn't hear a whole lot of what they were saying. You just hear a lot of shouting. You hear a lot of shouting, the players are talking, but you don't hear anything distinct. So when you throw that in with the later games and all the things that they did so that you could hear, you could hear the ball better, hear the sneakers better, and then the arena sounds, yeah, we're not gonna, we're gonna be disappointed on that front, right? We are going to be disappointed on that front. We are not gonna hear guys, for the most part, we're not gonna hear them going at each other, I don't believe. You're gonna hear some things better than you would in an NBA game, but whole conversations and stuff like that, it's nowhere near as distinct as we thought it was going to be. Again, one part I thought I was going crazy, because that was like the first thing I tweeted out was like, I can't hear these guys at all. And then somebody else tweeted, they were like, oh, we can hear these players talking right now. I'm like, I don't. Again, maybe we just had different expectations. It's nothing like I thought. But yeah, I am very pleased with the presentation. I'm very pleased with all of that. I thought the crowd was the lack of a crowd was going to throw me off. It really didn't. I was over that by like halftime of the Magic and Clippers. By that time, and especially by the second game that I watched today, I felt like I was back in stride. I'm like, okay, cool. Who's playing next? What sets are they running? Who's doing what? I'm looking at the Nuggets and their new lineup. Like, I was all into actual basketball by that point. I've accepted this as a reality, especially because I feel like this is what a lot of basketball looks like going forward for a good amount of time. I'm like, within the next year. Again, a distant question I have, which I don't care about at all right now, because we have so many things that are going to be coming terribly fast in the next week or so. If the season is going to end around October, and then of course starts the 2021 season on December 1st, I'm like, okay, so are they just going to stay at Disney, or are you going to have a bubble? Oh, because that's one thing I do worry about, actually. Yeah, there's been no, like, as far as I know, there's been no real information on that yet, but we've had 2 or 3 family matters incidents that have taken place from the campus. And so, although this is cool, and obviously the player safety is the NBA's absolute first worry, because if you leave the bubble next season and you have guys going every which way, then it's going to be really hard to avoid a scenario where they have to shut down again. But one of the compromises that you have to have with this bubble, which gets you dangerously close to asterisk territory, is the fact that guys can't handle outside situations the way they can when they're just at home, right? So the players that have left campus are Zion for undisclosed family reasons. I believe Montrezl Harrell. Let me not misinform y'all real quick. He was the other player, right? Patrick Beverley left while I was on stream last night. I didn't want to believe it. I thought the chat was capping, but let's see. Montrezl Harrell. Is it 2 Clippers players that have left? Yeah. No, it wasn't him, was it? I know he compared himself to Dennis Rodman. That happened today. Yeah, he did leave. Yes, okay, so Harrell did leave the NBA bubble for a family emergency, and apparently Patrick Beverley. Damn, did I just hit my mic? That's a mistake I always make during streams, during Twitch streams. I probably got to edit that on the podcast. Can't get too laxed over here. Yeah, apparently Patrick Beverley lost a friend to gun violence. That's the thing that's going around there. Yeah, it's a very tough situation. So what happens here is it's not like a regular thing where they just live at home where they can go catch a flight and then be back with the team, you know, ASAP and be in the next game. Like, you leave the bubble right now and you got to get tested regularly. They got to know who you were with, where you went. You got to come back, and then you got to quarantine for a unspecified amount of days. We don't actually know that yet. I assume with these 3 gone, we'll get a better idea of how that actually works. And yeah, that causes missed games. And as we are going into the playoffs, because that's not going to be a while, like, we're going to head like right in after these seeding games are done. That's kind of crazy, man. What if somebody has like and family always comes first, obviously. Like, they get at the end of the day, like LeBron said, it's just basketball. But yeah, you think about the entertainment value of this, and somebody gets into a game 7 and whoops, something popped off back home. They gotta go. Even if their team wins, are they going to be back for game 1 of next series? You see that this gets potentially complicated. Like with Zion right now, all the information we have is that he is being tested regularly, and he fully intends on joining his team, but we have no clue when he'll be back. I'm going to assume he's gonna miss some games. I mean, who knows? We have a whole nother week until this thing starts. For all we know, he can be back in like 3 days and then quarantine for 4, and maybe he is there for the start of the season. But yeah, this does potentially get kind of ugly with these situations, and they're understandable. Life happens, but yeah, obviously with guys, so some of these guys are going to be away from their families for like 3 months, and things do happen. So people are going to be having to leave during important times, and that is a very big drawback, especially if we have to do a bubble season next season, and guys are going to be missing all type of games for all types of reasons, because that's a much longer period of time. Then you're looking at December to June, and yeah, that's plenty of missed games for family reasons. But yeah, hey, again, everybody just doing the best they can right now, and the NBA is doing the best they can. And as a hoop said, I'm satisfied, man. I'm satisfied, and I am very happy to have basketball back. Looking forward to 3 o'clock start for Giannis tomorrow, right? Giannis is going to be playing the San Antonio Spurs. Don't know. I mean, I know where they're here, but yeah, let me not stop. No Popovich slander. No Popovich slander shall prosper. neither for Tim Duncan, even though he's not here. He's back working with LaMarcus Aldridge on his season-ending surgery. As far as some actual technical basketball things, so what we saw today, I'll start there, and then I'll slowly trickle out to some of the other NBA news. Yeah, so the biggest thing that stuck out again was the Nuggets. I was talking about that a little bit at the beginning. Jokic lost so much weight. They actually have him playing point guard now, and I'm interested in that because I already know he was initiating plays at center. That was one of the things that makes him such a unique talent, is that he's a great passing big man, can obviously handle the ball, he's a magician with it, and could even bring the ball up before. But now he's actually, that's not really the interesting thing here. Interesting thing is that if this lineup goes through, if they go through with this, which, as a matter of fact, let me actually pull the lineup up, he will be the full-time starting point guard, which, again, might not change exactly what he was doing as far as initiating plays, but it changes the lineup. So today, what they started with, what they brought out was Jokic point guard, Grant shooting guard, Bol small forward, Paul Millsap small forward, and Mason Plumlee center. This is like the counterbalance to the Houston Rockets. So this is definitely tall ball, right? And what gets me with this is Michael Porter Jr. is en route to Orlando. That was the last update that I saw. And so how does he play into this? Is he going to be 6 man? Are they going to give him a spot in this lineup? Are they going to possibly replace Grant there? Hey, the Nuggets, this is the thing I'm talking about, right? With this pause that we had. Guys have had time to think. People have done different things to their bodies. You got the Sixers potentially about to roll out Ben Simmons at power forward. All these things that I don't think were going to happen going into the playoffs under normal circumstances, because why would you even try them? And who would have, at that point, why would you try them, right? Like, now we're restarting, so you can just come back and say, okay, let's try this, but you probably don't want to, get that crazy when you've already built a certain thing, or you built a certain system and that you've been playing all season. You don't want to implement something this crazy that close to the playoffs, but this is much different. And the Nuggets have quickly become one of the more interesting teams, man. They become one of the more interesting teams, specifically because to me, in my opinion, Bol coming into this Nuggets team, which by the way they were good already. Jokic did have a slow start this season, but obviously he played himself into shape. And the Nuggets, when we left off, again, this podcast is unofficially sponsored by Google Chrome basketball reference, because we don't use Mozilla for that shit. It always messes up. They were 2020 summary. The Nuggets were like second or third, right? The Denver Nuggets, come on, let's go. Why am I on being? I'm on being again. Goddamn. The Nuggets were third seed. Okay, so yeah, the Nuggets were third seed. They are adding a potential. I mean, we don't want to put so much, let's slow our roll. We don't want to give Bobo these many expectations, but again, that gives you more versatility on the lineup. Still gonna have Jamal Murray out there as well. This doesn't, just simple changes sometimes, man. Simple adjustments can change a lot. And all of a sudden, the Nuggets go from that team that that they just work out if the Lakers or Clippers don't. That's all of a sudden they really throw themselves into that mix if this yields the type of changes that it could potentially yield. So we'll be watching. By the way, if you're wondering about Bobo's stat line, he's getting drug tested tomorrow. Oh, the NBA is back. I love this league. In his debut, why is Washington here? Why? In his debut, he played 32 minutes today. He scored 16 points, 10 rebounds, 6 blocks. Shot 6 of 14 from the field. Yeah, and he was shooting a lot of threes when I watched. He was looking like one of those 2K sim players. He only made 2 threes, but that is what it is. Hey man, that's in his first. It's a scrimmage. It's against the Wizards. I'm just saying though, he's looking a lot like a demigod out there. The man has to have a 1,000-foot wingspan. It looks like a glitch. Definitely looks like a glitch. I saw him rebound one of his own misses on a fast break, and he like barely jumped and put back dunked it. It was crazy. Y'all know about Bol and the tier that he might be if you caught the 2K sim we did months ago, and when we were doing the Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell sim, and then Bobo got drafted. You already know if he fulfills even like 70% of that 2K prophecy, things are gonna be wild. Obviously doesn't have much to do with real life. 2K sims are fuckery. But yeah, it's a good start for them. Jokic as well. He played 26 minutes, so pretty much a good amount less than he'll actually be playing, but put up 16, 7, and 7. Damn, he was only 3 of 5. He didn't even Jokic should be getting a lot more burn, obviously, than that. I'm excited about this team, bro. Adjustment changes fascinate me. Adjustment changes. What the fuck did I just say? Adjustments fascinate me. Just like the Houston Rockets, if you recall how excited I was before the season got shut down, and I was looking at their new experiment with Westbrook and looking at them not playing a center, I was very excited then. So I'm very excited, just like I was for extreme small ball. If they're going extreme tall ball, I am very excited for that. So that's the Nuggets. Yeah, not much to really tell from Magic and Clippers today. Obviously, that was just a little, a skirmish. Clippers win, blah blah blah. Duncan Robinson, yeah, I'm convinced he's never actually missed a shot in his life. They played the Kings tonight. They won. He was torching at the beginning. And then we had, so the Nuggets opponents was the Wizards, and then you also had the Nets playing the why am I blanking? Were the Nets? Who the fuck did the Nets play? I'm sitting here remembering the details about the bad teams that played. It doesn't matter who they played. The Pelicans. There we go. Yeah, and they didn't have Zion. It makes sense why I didn't remember. Why the Nets and Wizards? I understand why they had to be here, but still, why? I think with the Wizards, obviously they believed that Bradley Beal was going to be there. In which case, they would have been maybe not very interesting to watch, but at least it would have been like cool. I hate that they have to be here because no disrespect to the players putting in work and all that stuff, and I get it, and it'll still be interesting to watch some guys that may be trying to fight for a spot in the league or fight for more minutes or whatever. But it just sucks, like, you have all these interesting teams because, again, you got invited to the bubble and, man, you're a playoff team. So it just sucks to have all these interesting teams and all these interesting matchups. And at least until the playoffs, we're always going to have this one matchup where this team is playing the one of these two guys. And it's just like, man, dude's about to be out here doing cardio, like, for real. I think Wob said the Nets was just out there running or something like that. Yeah, Brooklyn is just out here running. They lost. They don't have DeAndre Jordan. They don't even have Spencer Dinwiddie, fab. It's looking rough out there for Brooklyn. But yeah, I mean, I get why they're here, and one of them is gonna get fed to the Bucks in the first round. Oh gosh, I can't promise you I'm gonna watch that playoff series, bro. Look, I've been desperate for basketball. I've been desperate for this. You know, I don't know if I can bring myself to watch 4 games of Bucks and Nets. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anywho, yeah, aside from roasting teams that, you know, are in this bubble, but why are they in this bubble? We talked about the players that left. That's pretty interesting. Westbrook came back, by the way. Again, this coronavirus is so goddamn weird because on one hand you see videos of people, like I think I saw my first video today of a patient in the hospital with it. He filmed a video and he was just like in terrible shape and telling everybody take this seriously, which obviously I believe it should be taken seriously. And then you hear that Jokic had it and Westbrook had it, and then here they are, boom, right back to the basketball. Westbrook is already back. When they said he was quarantined with it just like what was that, less than a week ago, I was like, damn, bro, we're not about to see Westbrook for a minute. He's already here. Jokic is running point guard. So that's good. So the Rockets don't have any other issues that I thought might have stemmed from that when I was talking about them last podcast. Yeah, that I think that's next. The Grizzlies did not play today. They have, hey yo, why do they feel this threatened about Ja Morant? I see a whole thing going on. I think it's like Vote Ja. The hashtag is like Vote Ja or something like that. Bro, Ja Morant is the rookie of the year. I don't think he needs that. I mean, maybe just the love, right? It's love from the league or love from his teammates and all that. He's clearly rookie of the year. I don't think he needs a super strong campaign for it, especially since might miss some games here. But yeah, speaking of the Grizzlies, Winslow is out for the season. If you somehow forgot, Andre Iguodala, who by the way is looking old as shit these days, he need to hit up the barbershop and he got to hit up the shop on the campus because he's I hate to see my vets that I've been looking at in the league for years and years now just start. It makes me feel weird when I see them age. Right, they don't normally age, but they don't age like they have now without a barber. So I saw him today and I was like, yeah, you gotta let that go, man. Get that fade, or just let it completely go. bald Iggy. That trade happened obviously because Iguodala, that was something else that was going on. Young Grizzlies players were mad that he didn't want to play for them, and so he went to the Heat, and we were all looking at that like, whoa, that's crazy. A team that we were already looking at with upset potential just grabbed a veteran who, we know was going to do certain things. He's not going to carry anything, obviously, but he does to bring intangibles that can be very important for a team like that. And yes, Winslow was looked at as a good trade piece for the Grizzlies because, well, Miami is kind of already moving on with their young core. You see what they have, and also might be big players in free agency pretty soon. But he sustained a hip injury, it looks like, in practice, and they went ahead and just ruled him out for season, like, just straight up. I didn't see exactly. Can I get more information on what his injury actually is? Because when I originally read it, I was like, damn, what did he do? Well, I've hit my hip before. I was playing basketball back in the 10th grade, I think, during tryouts. I hit my hip and it was like a contusion, I believe. That shit hurt like crazy. I couldn't even bend down to get to my locker the next day. But for a season-ending hip injury, though, yeah, it just says hip injury. Anyways, big thing there is if you go to Google Chrome and you look at Justice Winslow's, or did I say Justice or just... I remember the chat roasted me one time because I said his name wrong. Like, me and Eric got to arguing about how it's pronounced because it looks like Justice, but apparently it's just Justice. And I'm pretty sure in a game or something I heard them say Justice. Whatever, bro. In his first year in the league, he played 78 games, started 8. Second year in the league, he started 15 games, played 18. The next 2 seasons, he played... Oh, no, not even that. My bad. 2018, he played in 68 games, only started 25. Last season, he played 66 games and started 52. And then this season, it looked like he would... I think like his first game this year looked like he might have a breakout year. And then he went out and he only played 11 games and started 5. For a player that some people had high hopes for, to hear, I mean, he's still young. He's literally 23 years old right now, around that age. But to continuously have these things where it's like it's taking chunks of his season, or in this case, 2 of his seasons so far have been completely wiped due to injury, and including this one. So 2017 and now, they've been just completely wiped due to injury because he was injured this year. Now he's on this team, on this young Grizzlies team that's looking forward to having him for the future. And you know, here we go. He's starting to get that. Label as an injury-prone player. I hope the best for him, because when I thought that was a win-win. If you remember my stance on the Heat and Grizzlies trade, I said that was a win-win. I said that the Heat really did not need him in the position that they were in at the moment. They're dangerously, I wouldn't say dangerously, but they're pretty close to contention. They're like one really good free agent move away from like being on those teams that you expect to be in the finals. I don't think they're there right now. But I thought it made perfect sense for them to get rid of a guy who doesn't really play much for them for a guy that can, bring a veteran presence. And I thought it made sense for the Grizzlies, who were building with a young core. And so we'll see how things go when we get into a normal situation next year. But yeah, if you're a Grizzlies fan, you kind of like, are you really shaking? I mean, y'all have Ja Morant, so y'all, and then y'all got Jaren Jackson. Y'all have a real nice young core. So are you really shaking if this trade doesn't work out? It's not like you sold the farm for him, right? You gave away a player that didn't care to, show up for y'all or didn't want to play for y'all. So I don't know. Maybe you're not shaking. Maybe it doesn't really matter for you. So he is out. We talked about guys leaving oh man, so I'm pretty sure, yeah, I talked about pretty much all that. I'm pretty sure that this fucking Zoom call commentary that they had on the Nuggets game, I think that's just for scrimmages. We don't even need it for scrimmages, man. We don't even need it for scrimmages. Y'all know what I'm talking about if y'all saw the Nuggets and Wizards. If you were watching the Nuggets broadcast, they had a 4-person Zoom call on top of the screen, and it was the worst possible idea. It was the worst possible idea. I was like, if this is what they have to do to have, Kenny or Chuck or anybody, any of our regular commentators, Chris Webber, Reggie Miller, I don't care, bro. If this is what they have to do to have them commentating during the game, I will take a commentary-less game, bro. I will make that compromise. And I think that was just something that this specific broadcast did, because at first I couldn't get the Wizards to work. Then after a couple of tries I did, and they had a regular commentary thing going. Every other game had regular commentary, but it was a bummer, bro, because I was like, y'all have this amazing presentation and y'all are gonna fuck it up with this OBS Studios looking presentation right here. It looks like somebody's streaming on Twitch for a live basketball game. Oh, it was horrible. The commentary was horrible. It was funny at one point, dude. It was like I don't know his name, but it was an older guy, and he asked the other 3 people a question. He's like, yo, who are all these people in the background? He was referring to the people on the bench and whatnot, and nobody answered him, bro. Nobody answered it because he was getting too casual. He was talking like he was like on a Discord call or something. I was like, yo, get this the fuck out of here. So I think that was just a one-time thing. Maybe they'll bring it back for a couple of scrimmages, but bro, do not bring this to any regular season games. No seeding games, no Zoom calls, no NBA Zoom calls 2020. We don't need that, bro. I will take the mute option. All right. So I just had that jotted down because I hated that today. And as far as the actual things going on in the bubble, that's pretty much it today. We just had a couple of scrimmages. Not much you can really tell because guys aren't even playing their full minutes yet. For me, the biggest takeaway was the presentation, because the presentation and maybe a little bit of the play. I mean, I think we all expect a little bit of rust. I saw Jokic throw a couple of turnovers that looked like him and his teammate just weren't on the same page. Like he thought a guy would be cutting when they weren't, and he threw a pass. Things that are gonna get hammered out with a little bit of time. Other than that, I'm not sure that I saw like terrible rust or anything. If you're just going off of scores, don't worry, because the games were played on 10-minute quarters. They did not do 12, so I guess they're probably using these scrimmage games to experiment with that, and so that's what happened there. And yeah, that was about the only thing, just the shape of the players, which you can't tell much from right now, and the presentation. And I'm pleased, man. As for fans who 2 months ago we didn't know what we were gonna see, this is pretty awesome, I would say. I was wondering, I was thinking 2K21 maybe give us an option with this, but nobody's gonna use that, right? If 2K21 on next gen has like a bubble option, and I'm sure they will probably, just because it's a part of NBA basketball now. This is gonna be, I don't think people are gonna realize people will probably realize years later when they look back, like how unique this is and how, like, what a page of history this is right now, of course across the world, but especially in sports. We're really gonna have NBA finals photos with, you know, whoever is there, like, and making big plays in a Disney court, you know, like looking like an AAU tournament. We're gonna look back at that in a few years and be like, man, that was a very weird time. Some things off the bubble. Yeah, the most important thing here probably is Kevin Garnett. KG is trying to buy the Wolves. Now, I wasn't exactly clear. They said he got together with some investors to buy the Wolves from Glenn Taylor. I wasn't sure if they were talking about like majority owner, because that's a big deal, right? Michael Jordan was the first black majority owner of a team. And so if we could just look up a little bit here. Yeah, so that is the thing. He's in... They're in talks right now. They're in talks. Glenn Taylor is exploring it. This would be huge. I would love this because KG, if y'all don't know, right, like this is a thing that I see pretty often. You know, you'll see a Twitter debate come up because everyone hates the 08 Celtics now. They've become popular to hate. Not gonna lie, they've done quite a bit of talking that would like between Paul Pierce hating on LeBron and saying crazy things on who is it? ESPN, yeah. And Kevin Garnett saying they broke LeBron and their long-going feud with Ray Allen. They've done quite a few things to make themselves, you know, probably overhated, I would say now. But the thing that I always see is an argument will come up and people will be like, oh, Kevin Garnett couldn't win until he left the Wolves, or, you know, he had to do this or he had to do that. And I'm like, people don't really remember, like, KG didn't actually want to leave the Wolves. It was more of a thing where the Wolves were like, yo, you gotta bounce, so we're trying to rebuild here now. Which, it'd be great if they did that in the sim. If you follow me on Twitch, it'd be great if they pushed KG out now, because he's not winning shit there, and he actually stayed loyal in our sim. He stayed with the Wolves, and like he kind of wanted to in real life, but his career's gone to waste there. But yeah, he genuinely cares about that city, and he genuinely cares about that team. And so it would be awesome to see not only, you know, just having another player like you had Michael Jordan owning Charlotte. Shit, now that I say that, I'm not sure, because that's we think of Michael Jordan, you think about basketball royalty, but then that's always the part that comes up, right, is how shit of an owner he is. So maybe that'll make us look at KG in a totally different light, because it's not for everybody. These whole management positions is not for everybody, but I'm still with it, because you might not even know, as far as I know, the Wolves have not retired his jersey yet, because KG doesn't want anything to do with the actual, he doesn't fuck with them, basically. He doesn't fuck with the ownership. They've had like a long going dispute ever since he was still a Celtic, actually. I remember the Celtics asked him, I remember when he was playing from Boston and they had a game in Minnesota. In an interview, he had said that he had like nothing good to say about the team or about the ownership or something like that. And so yeah, for that reason, we have not had like an actual retirement ceremony for him there yet. And so this man on some real G shit might buy the team and then gonna end up retiring his own jersey, bro. That is a Kevin Garnett move. That is a KG move, literally. Somebody posted the meme on Twitter of Obama putting the medal around Obama's neck. Somebody, you know, they photoshopped two Obamas and they have him like putting the medal around his own neck. That's what they said. That's KG retiring his own jersey. So I mean, hey, I would love to see KG get that. Yeah, Celtic for life. People always ask me who my favorite Celtic is. I guess I would say KG. For some reason, I never really given that much thought, but I would love to see him take this W. Oh, damn, I was moving away from the bubble. See, this is why I gotta organize my notes. We are not done with the bubble. Oh, we kinda are, but we're not. The NBA award voting is going to happen during the playoffs. The announcement is going to happen during the playoffs. So I think I mentioned it last podcast, just in case I didn't, small recap. The voting for the MVP award and all that is going to happen for everything that happened up to the NBA stoppage. So that voting, everything important to that voting, bro, I'm confusing the fuck out of y'all and myself. They are voting on what happened before the season started. Stopped. Fuck, bro, this is what happens when you do podcasts at midnight. No voting is going to happen for the MVP in this bubble, right? So if LeBron scores like 50 points every single game in the bubble, that is not going to count towards MVP voting. It's only going up to the 11th. However, the actual awards are going to be announced during the playoffs. NBA. Who was I talking to last time? When I said like I was like, if a Sony representative is listening to this podcast, of course none of them would be, but somebody important in the NBA might at some point. Get rid of the award show. We don't like that shit. It's unnecessary. That was such a terrible decision, right? Because you used to have these amazing moments where like Hakeem Olajuwon went off on David Robinson because Robinson got what Hakeem felt like was his MVP award, and so that moment is etched in history. That moment of Hakeem shaking Robinson out of his shoes, it is etched in history, and it is aided by the fact that Robinson got his MVP in front of him. Dirk Nowitzki receiving the MVP in that like 66 win season, I believe, when they lost to the 8th seeded Warriors. He had to receive that after they were put out of the playoffs. That is a crazy moment. We never talk about Dirk Nowitzki's humiliations because he's a darling after 2011, but before 2011 a lot of shit happened, and that was one of them. That was one of the things that have just kind of been erased in history. But you know, if you really go back and you look like me, like you remember this stuff, right? Point being, NBA awards during the playoffs, they create tension. It will create tension. It creates storylines. When 2016 Steph Curry is announced unanimous MVP, and then he loses a 3-1 lead to LeBron James, who some people felt like should have been MVP, and then they're saying, oh look, that was the real MVP. Those are the things you don't get when you have this bitch ass award show. I just stopped myself because damn, is the award show really that young? Damn, up to 2016. Yeah, because Curry was already MVP. Yeah, he was already unanimous MVP, and they had the 73-win season. Wow, man. A lot happened in this last 4 years. Yeah, I didn't realize the award show was that young. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's keep it young. Let's stick a fork in it. Let's bury it, and let's always have the awards voted on and announced during the playoffs. So this year, that can be a really cool thing that happens in the bubble, where if we get Giannis and we get Kawhi, or I mean, Kawhi doesn't really get into these type of things. You hear about LeBron you hear LeBron discussing these things more often than Kawhi. So if we get LeBron and Giannis in the NBA Finals, and Giannis is the MVP, and now LeBron's got to win his 4th against the MVP. You see what I'm saying? I don't need to keep going on this. Just keep it this way. Speaking of that, damn, I had a great thought while I was on that tangent, and it got replaced by something else. My mind is everywhere tonight. LeBron James actually did acknowledge, that's what I was just saying, how he would acknowledge these type of talks before Kawhi would. He did acknowledge the MVP talk, because of course Frank Vogel came out and he's advocating for his superstars to LeBron to win MVP and Anthony Davis to win Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, why wouldn't he support his players? And of course, you got MVP talk everywhere now that the season is back. You got Magic Johnson came out and said LeBron deserves MVP. Again, Laker Nation, why wouldn't he? Lakers alumni. But LeBron himself acknowledged the Eastern Conference argument. And that is to my knowledge, that's the first time I've heard him talk about narratives, right? Narrative wasteland. That's the first time I've heard him talk about it. And he was saying how, yeah, he heard it his whole career about how he couldn't win how he wouldn't be the same if he wasn't, in the weak East, and then he went West and did the same thing. I'm not really here to argue the validity of these things or whatever, but I just want to take time to say, A, he acknowledged that, and B, he acknowledged the conference argument before Skip Bayless. Now, I need to see something, because there has been, I just said he never acknowledged Skip Bayless because that seems to be the popular thought on Twitter, but I kind of remember Skip Bayless a really, really long time ago was talking about how LeBron did acknowledge him. He said something about, oh, LeBron said I'm his, I can't remember exactly, but either way, right now where we are in 2020, it seems that nobody has ever heard LeBron so much as speak his name. And I'm just doing a quick search just to confirm that. Yeah, I don't really say anything. Yeah, that's just kind of crazy that Skip Bayless has made a career talking about this man for how many years now. LeBron's been around since 03. I'm not sure when Skip Bayless came around talking about him, but the fact that LeBron has never actually, we don't have any clip of LeBron or proof of LeBron actually acknowledging him, right? But he hears him. How the fuck could you not hear him? I mean, if you hear Shannon Sharp, you hear Skip Bayless. I don't think he really acknowledges Shannon Sharp either. That makes that whole thing even weirder. But yeah, that is an interesting thing that came out of this week. I would love, like I said, I always say I love to hear what players actually think because it's so rare. And so now that LeBron is actually out here acknowledging narrative wasteland, that means he's probably heard way more than that, right? He's heard way more than just the conference thing, and he's thought about those things, and that would also explain why he's so great and why he's done so many great things, and why he would feel the need to come out back in, when was that, whenever he did that interview and said that one made me the GOAT. I mean, I guess why he would feel the need to come out and say those things if he's been hearing and dissecting these criticisms for this many years. I mean, you can understand it, right? None of us will ever be as scrutinized as him. So yeah, award voting will be in the playoffs. Are we done here? Yeah, summer league, Zoom call. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. That's pretty much it for most of the important NBA things. Daniel Gafford, a Bulls player. If you casually follow the NBA, you may not have heard of him. So I wouldn't blame you. However, I'm surprised this one didn't make bigger news. It's probably because it happened the day before the NBA bubble. So I think life now is kind of like pre-NBA bubble and current NBA bubble. I think a lot of the news before this kind of, gets lost. And yeah, literally, I hadn't even seen this till today. And Daniel Gafford actually called out the Bulls coach, Jim Boylan, while he was on stream. So look, I was like he was playing some NBA 2K Park, and if I can go off the dome, he said something of, I'm not gonna criticize coach, but he has a lot of things he could work on, like as a person and as a coach. But I'm not gonna criticize him. But I mean, you low key did right there, right? Let me just let me get y'all a direct quote real quick. I found this interesting because yeah, here he is. So wow, they say wow. What have I been missing? They said Daniel Gafford is the latest Bulls player to take a jab at Jim Boylan. I am surprised this man is still coach. Yeah, Daniel Gafford. Okay, they're not going to talk about the other ones. Yeah, so here's what he said. Gafford said he's all right. I don't like him a lot, but he's okay. He got some things he can work on. Got some things he could get better at as a person and as a coach, but I'm not going to hate on him. Not going to hate the man, but So in other words, I don't like this guy, bro. On Twitch, this is the era we live in, bro. This is the era we live in. If people are going back and saying, oh, Michael Jordan played against plumbers 35 years from now, they're gonna be like, yeah, but Braun was playing Twitch streamers. But we've gotten to this point where people are live talking about their coach. This is a thing again. I don't, especially since we're not even gonna see any Bulls basketball until what, like December, literally. This will probably be like a little tidbit, but this is the first time I think this is a unique situation of a player actually coming out like that in a setting like that, and I wonder if there'll be any repercussions. But what repercussions would there be? What are the, because like you would say like, oh yeah, this puts his job at jeopardy. What if the Bulls end up, when push comes to shove, if they end up cutting him or whatnot, and other teams don't want to take a chance on him, but other teams might think Jim Boylan is a bad coach too, so they might understand it. I don't think this is gonna do anything to this guy. I don't think this is gonna do anything. It seems. You talk to Chicago fans everywhere, king of the fourth quarter, rusty buckets, just Chicago fans everywhere. I've never actually came into contact with or associated with a Bulls fan that likes the coach, man. It actually got to the point I felt bad, because I remember when the season was still going on, there was a video that went around of Jim Boylan walking in the tunnel, and somebody was filming, and they were like, yeah, like, somebody would have to be an idiot to hire you. You're a terrible coach. And I actually felt bad because Jim Boylan looked like he actually took that to heart. Like he actually looked like, yeah, he looked hurt over that shit. Because at the end of the day, it's just a man out here. But yeah, that seems to be like a unanimous thing that goes on there. What goes on in Chicago, bro? If you're a distraught Chicago fan, follow me on Twitch, bro. Y'all are good there. Y'all had Michael Jordan. Y'all got Gilbert Arenas, led y'all to a title. It looks like y'all still have a bright future because he's there and he's averaging like 40 every year. Well, 39 to be exact. But y'all are good on the sim, bro. But in real life, yeah, I don't know when this is turning around. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen ain't walking through that door. Oh, speaking of that, as we close out the NBA section, one more thing. I did not write this one down, but if it was real, it would be worth discussing. Was this a thing? Yeah, 3 days ago. I'm not talking about The Last Dance anymore. You know what? Nah, never mind. I'm putting that out of my mind. I'm putting The Last Dance out of my mind because honestly, it doesn't bring back good memories. When all we had was The Last Dance to watch. Oh man, even darker memories than that. We came a long way, right? Do y'all remember once upon a time when the NBA tried to entertain us with a socially distanced game of Virtual Horse? Oh my gosh, bro. We really did this, man. We really did this. We survived that. We endured that. We are here. The Last Dance was great, but I don't have great memories of that being the only source of basketball, right? We're not talking about Last Dance anymore. And it looks to me like we're not really talking about NBA anymore. I think I have crossed out everything that I want to talk about. Real games start on the 30th, and we are gonna get this season cracking, or we're gonna get the season finished rather. So that's good for the NBA. The smaller parts that I had here at the end, yeah, just a couple of small things. I think today's podcast is only going to be like a little bit over an hour. So check this out, right? I was scrolling Twitter, as I often do, or often did during this quarantine that wasn't really a quarantine. I don't even remember the name of this game now because I have it written down as the Simulator. So maybe if I go to Twitter, Gamer Girl, that's what it was called. What the fuck, 2020? It can't get any weirder. It can't get any weirder. So yeah, gaming news often happens because we're heading to a next gen or whatever, but people are still releasing games or whatnot. I don't even know what platform. I think this is for PS4, and there's a game being released called Gamer Girl, and the premise of it is you are the mod of a gamer girl's Twitch chat or streaming chat or whatever. And it's an FMV game, which, what does FMV stand for on games? It slipped my mind. FMV game, that means, alright, meaning, here we go, come on Google, full motion video, there we go, yeah, full motion video. The most comparison I have to this is a game called SRS that I played when I was younger, and well, hell, that's not it. They just had a couple of recorded things, and that wasn't it. Anyways, full motion video game is, I guess, like you make certain decisions, and they already have like the reaction to those decisions pre-recorded, and so that's what this game has. You're literally a mod of her chat that, from the trailer, looks like you control her life. Basically, she asks you to make she asks you for help making certain decisions, and so that's how you end up with like this Detroit Become Human type web where you make a decision and it leads to this event, except obviously these are pre-recorded. But it gets really weird. Like the trailer ends with her, you know, going to check up on somebody, then looking like she's being attacked. And this is the weirdest fucking game this is the weirdest fucking game I've ever seen. It's the weirdest fucking advertisement I've ever seen, because when I read their explanation it sounded, I guess, like they were trying to come from a good place. Let me see if I can tell y'all who this actually is so you can read it for yourself. Wales Interactive. So oh shit, they pulled it. Wales Interactive actually pulled the ad. They got bullied, bro. Cyberbullying works. Don't clip me saying that. I'm only talking about in situations like this. Wales Interactive quietly pulls announcement for FMV game about female streamer abuse. So that's what it is. They were trying to make a game which they called empowering about female streamer abuse, but in my eyes, this is high key like making a game about school shootings and then trying to say like, oh, it's a game to like raise awareness or some bullshit, right? Because you're putting somebody in the position to be a mod in the chat, which I guess you're the one that's being controlling. And because, you know, that's a thing that's why it's called the Simulator, because apparently that's a thing in real life. People become mods of these females chats, and then all of a sudden they feel like, you know, they're their heroes and shit like that, and they get too attached, and now the girl's getting harassed. So it feels like they're putting you in that position. And if they're not, the ad did not do a good job the ad did not do a good job portraying what they were trying to portray. Watch it yourself. It is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. And people called it the Simulator. That's why I couldn't remember the name of the game. I had it written down as a Simulator. I can't imagine why I or anyone would want to play this, but to each its own. Yeah, it says they've withdrawn the announcement of Gamer Girl. It says, announced last week, the game puts the players in the role of a chat moderator, attempting to keep order in the chat of the streamer. And they also offer her advice on how to handle things when she faces a threat from an anonymous predator. See, that's slightly different than what the trailer looks like. And said that the trailer and announcements and the tweets, blah blah blah, it prompted complaints from other female streamers and abuse victims. PC Gamer reports that the publisher attempted to address the concerns, which is what I read, but it didn't help. It did not help at all. And then since they've removed all announcement material, so I guess they're gonna cancel this game, and it's a good thing too. It's a good thing too, because it's just whatever. Again, like so now you just see what I just read. It seems like it was slightly different than what the trailer showed, but nobody liked that. You seen the meme where it says nobody likes that? Yeah, nobody liked that. Nobody wanted this game to exist. Nobody asked for this game to exist, and it seems like it's not going to exist. So I just had to write that down. I had to, if y'all need a good laugh, I'm sure you can find this trailer somewhere and get ready to cringe, because that was some weird shit, bro. That was some weird shit. What else do we have here? Spider-Man Miles Morales will have a 4K 60. Now this was actually kind of weird. Let me also Google is my best friend on these things. The way they tweeted it was kind of strange. I didn't know if they meant it was gonna have a 4K or a 60 FPS option, or a 4K and 60 FPS option for Spider-Man Miles Morales. Let me get some clarity on that right now. Has optional 4K 60 FPS performance mode. Yeah, okay. That looks like it. It says Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS5 has an optional 4K resolution / 60 frames per second, which to me means it's gonna have an option to play at 4K 60, which seems like something we've been waiting for, but the fact that it's an option to me means that there's going to be some sacrifice there, and why wouldn't there? Because to even get PCs to play something at 4K 60 is pretty difficult. Digital Foundry, I'm pretty sure that's a YouTube channel, they reported that PS5 games reveal showcase suggested 30 FPS was a performance target for the majority of the games. Again, this is just what happens when you're trying to make consoles affordable. Obviously, 60 FPS is just not really a standard. Yeah, because they're saying even though the horsepower exists, again, this is why people build PCs, because you can get more bang for your buck. Anyways, yeah, I just, to be honest, I don't really even know why I wrote that down. That just fascinates me. I'm looking forward to it. PS5, that's one of the, I believe that is a launch day title that I am, if it's launch day title, I'm definitely going to be grabbing it. The way I do with my games, I pretty much always play them at I always play them at like the highest resolution. I'm like to hell with performance, so it had me looking crazy when I was playing Spiral a couple of months ago, because when the quarantine started, I was like, I have some time to hop on some games that I never, that I bought or maybe never used, and I was using Spiral, and the game looks gorgeous, but the frame rate was absolute shit. Even GTA Online frame rate is shit, and I'm pretty sure there's some options. Yeah, the PS4 Pro actually has an option to where you can optimize it for either performance or you can have the visuals, and so I guess for 4K at 60, your other option would be to play it at 30, and you probably then will be having options like some ray tracing or what do you call it, distance scaling, things like that. Yeah, there's obviously got to be some type of given that you're having an option here, but that is going to look crazy, man. That is going to look crazy. This is always the thing I talk about with graphics, because Spider-Man, I played on PS4 when was that, 2018, and it was back then one of the more beautiful games that I played. Y'all remember last year when I was raving about Red Dead and all of that, and here we are probably about to be knocked out of our fucking socks in like 4 months. This is one of the greater things about, this is why I say people are liars when they say when they get on 2K and they're like, oh, we don't care about the graphics next year. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. If you buy PS5 and the 2K21 looks exactly like 2K20 or only a little bit better, that, let's be real, that will be underwhelming. So looking forward to that, absolutely. And one more thing for some games, I guess these all just got lumped together. I didn't really have like a gaming section here, but last little bit here, Logic is retiring from rap, and he has signed with Twitch. He has signed a multi-million-dollar deal, couple million, I don't know exactly the numbers, they just said it was in the millions. And well, first of all, it's obviously interesting, Logic retiring from music. I don't know his whole catalog. I'm just familiar with the in music you probably wouldn't call these narratives. I'm just familiar with the talking points. People, it seemed like Logic was an easy target, and people love to hate him and his music, I guess. The things that I had heard I liked, but I haven't listened to the whole catalog. Apparently he was really good at one point, then people say he fell off. Well, regardless of any of that, he for now is done with music, will be moving on to Twitch. And I always find that interesting, the amount of like performers and artists and all this that you see take a fascination with streaming. It's cool for me to look at, because I would still consider myself new to streaming. Like, if we're being real, I started my Twitch in 2018, but I only really like became like a serious streamer, oh my gosh, time flies, bro, literally about, I would say, 7 months ago. That was when I started like really dedicating to it, because even back in last October to December, that's when I restarted streaming. Even then, I don't think I was as consistent with it. Hell, I even stopped streaming for about a month there. So yeah, for 6 months I'm really on it, and it's interesting. Like, you see all these basketball players during quarantine, they all started streaming. Myers Leonard still streams. Josh Hart gets on. Saw Devin Booker out there. Gordon Hayward is a big gamer. You see him in some of the commercials. T-Pain, who we actually tried to raid a couple of a couple of days ago. That was an interesting experience. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and how that originated, I had been saying like I was gonna raid T-Pain because he's a legend in my life, and I had seen the story circulating over. Oh yeah, it was in the last podcast. You already know we talked about the T-Pain disrespect, so I was like, yeah, we got to give this man his flowers, bro, because he's too legendary for some of the shit that we read. And so we raided him, and it just so happened to be on a day that apparently he was. I mean, I can't confirm whether he was faded or not, but it seemed like it. Man was faded, man was blasted, and he was also on like an interview with somebody like making music. Normally he's just playing like Call of Duty or something, or a racing game. So I thought that's what it was gonna be. I should have checked first, should have done my homework, because otherwise I would not have raided him. The raid failed, mission failed. We'll get him next time. No, there won't be a next time. I'm not raiding anybody. I'm not raiding anybody famous again. It was an interesting experience, but I don't think I'll be doing that anymore. Because for like 10 straight minutes you saw people in the chat like trying to get his attention, and he never looked. He never looked, or he didn't know what the hell was going on. He was like, yo, who the fuck are all these weirdos, basically, man. Or he was blasted, so he didn't pay attention to it, or he just wasn't all there. Anyways, yeah, it is. So Logic is out here with a multi-million-dollar streaming deal, and yeah, this comes like a month after Dr. Disrespect got banned, and we still don't know why. Like, I asked the chat and I got like 5 different reasons, which seemed like assumptions, so I don't even want to repeat them because nobody actually knows. And yeah, it's always interesting. I'm actually going to, whenever he starts streaming, he may have already, I don't know, because I hadn't been paying too much attention, but I am going to hop into some of his streams just to see what it's like. The fact that they gave him a whole contract for it, because one of the things I agreed with B-Salt with when they were doing the NBA 2K tournament, again in a very dark time in this quarantine, I do remember watching the players play, and I was like, yo, and B-Sauce tweeted out, he was like, yo, y'all gotta really be thankful for the people that actually do this content creation stuff, because you can see like it is a different realm, right? If someone's not used to being real streaming and on camera and playing and actually interacting with an audience and being generally generally works there, generally entertaining for an audience, for a live audience like that in a different setting like that, it shows. Because yeah, when we were watching the 2K commentator, or the 2K players, the NBA players playing 2K, it was terrible for the most part. There was like no life, no energy to it. Shit, some of them look like they ain't even really want to be there. So I'm interested because I do from time to time go into some of these bigger streamers these chats just to see what it's like, just to see what it's like when an NBA player is streaming, or somebody who doesn't really do this with their streaming. And it always throws me, like, most of the time it seems like a lot of them aren't even acknowledging the chat, or they're not even, people, you got a bunch of, and I get it, like, you're famous and a bunch of people are probably asking you different questions or saying certain things, and you're under scrutiny, because you slip up and say the wrong thing and you're big enough, you could fuck up a lot of shit. So I get why you probably wouldn't want to be answering every question, but it's still like, that's kind of the essence of streaming, though, I believe. And a lot of the parts is either it's like either or, right? There's like 2 things. You're either really good at the game you're playing and you don't have to say shit, people are there to watch you just be a boss at the game, or you have to be entertaining. So most people aren't pro gamers, so it's the other thing. They're entertaining, they're chatting, they're entertaining in some way. And a lot of these I've jumped into, I'm just like, hey man, I want to see what Logic does. I know Logic has made gaming videos with Dashy, and apparently he loves games and he's a gamer first, so he will probably make a good streamer. But yeah, I do agree with B-Sauls on that point. Definitely support your favorite creators who actually make these things pop, because that's low-key one of the things I don't ever really talk about. I talk about content creation a lot, but I don't ever really talk about how I feel about my content or any other people's content. But one of the things that I am low-key proud of, that's the thing, I never give myself any type of flowers or any type of props for anything that I do, because that's one of the negatives of doing what I do, is you're consistently trying to reach a new level. So maybe you don't ever stop back and look at like, damn, I've done this, that, or the other thing. Yeah, I never really do that. But one of the things that I've actually been able to be proud of is the fact that I've at this point built a legitimate and viable streaming option for myself, because I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, everybody really can't do that. Yeah, that's not a thing, right? It's like it's so different. Twitch is so different from YouTube, and I've done them both at a certain level, so I can say that I can look at YouTube and I'm like, the creation process for that versus Twitch, it's like Twitch is raw, fam. Twitch is raw. You're out here, you know, you slip and say one thing, you fuck up the stream with a moment or whatever. They're just so different, and it's I wouldn't say hard. What word am I looking for right now? It's just different, man. It's just different. I don't think everybody is capable of just jumping straight from YouTube into live streaming, into being a good streamer, right? Because some people are gonna have numbers just because of who they are, but to jump in and actually, you know, be entertaining, that's a totally different thing. And so, you know, sometimes I'm looking at what we've done on Twitch. Like these days, I actually consider myself a better streamer than a YouTuber, because like I'm more interested in streaming, and so that's where more the energy goes. And so I'm looking at that and like, man, for 4 years, you know, I'm doing YouTube at like the highest level that I could anyway. It's like I obviously didn't become the biggest, but you know, I've done YouTube at a level, at the highest level that I possibly could. And then I decided one day, like, man, I'm getting kind of tired of this. Like I should try a different avenue. And so far I've been successful with the Twitch thing as well. So obviously that all comes from the support that people give as well, so I'm very thankful for that. But that's been like one of the only things I could look back in content creation for and be like, man, I'm actually sort of proud of that. Which goes to the question that somebody asked for Twitch, because I figure what I'll do, like when I'm on Twitch, sometimes I get questions that I either, you know, answer a little bit, but then I think about later and I want to talk about it more, or I see a question float by that I just didn't have time to answer, because at the end of the day, like I think the last stream we did, the 2008 season, that was the most talking I had done that wasn't related to the actual, you know, commentary, because normally I'm doing commentary for the games, but I think that was the most you know, free talking stream I've had since back in the day when I was doing DBZ. Back in the day, shit wasn't even a year ago. Back when I was doing Budokai, that was like the most free spirited stream, and we were talking. Somebody asked about yeah, why? Because if again, I'm doing the simulations. I'm simulating every season. We restarted the NBA in 1997, and I'm just been letting it go crazy with free agency and trades, and we sim through every single season. It always takes like 5 or 6 hours. And one of the questions somebody asked is like, yo, why don't you do the videos that you did when you first started? Because I did a video for the 1997 and 1998 season, I believe. He's like, yo, why don't you do the why aren't you making a video every time you do one of these seasons? And you know, honest answer is like, dude, I'm one person. I really am. Like, these are two completely different beasts, right? Like, until you are able to really like have a full-time editor, that's good, by the way, because I've had editors before, and out of all the editors I've had, there's only one that I would consistently go back to. And I mean, that's just truth, because everybody is not, you know, everybody's not a qualified editor. I've gotten some wild results when I've contracted out. But yeah, I'm not at that level of some of the other YouTubers that can pump, you know, multiple videos out and do whatever else they want every single week, because they've got people editing for them. I don't. And so when I'm doing a 6-hour stream, because these season streams, they take from 4 to 6 hours. Like, fam, that's my content creation energy for that day, damn near. That's it, fam. That's it. That doesn't count the time that it goes into like setting up that stream, because after every stream I've got to go through the entire league, and I've got to look at, you know, ages, years pro. I got to make sure this player is developing right. I have to make sure this team's cap space isn't getting completely screwed to where they're going to start signing just generics and all of that. Like, I've got to go through and look at rebrands. Like, normally that process takes about a, you know, hour and a half just alone, just making sure the league is even ready for the next stream. Then I'm, you know, setting up different things for Twitch. Now we've gotten to the level, thanks to y'all again, we've gotten to the level where we got different emotes and all of that. What the fuck? Hey, yo, this apartment gotta chill out with these random noises, bro. I'm not with that shit. I am not about to get up. I'm not checking shit. If there's a demon in here, it's just we just sharing for the night, bro. That's crazy. That's wild. I think that was just my refrigerator's ice. Yeah, no, but yeah, Twitch and YouTube are literally their own platforms that take their own dedicated amount of work. And so like, we do these Twitch streams and people want these seasons, like, when are you streaming, when are you streaming, when are you streaming? Which I never, like, I've seen other content creators like blow up on their people for asking questions. I very rarely ever get heated, because I will never forget when before I had any kind of following. I remember seeing this YouTubers that one time they were doing something, I can't remember, they were doing something for a video, and like everything stopped in that video just so they could talk, like just go crazy on things that annoyed them about their fan base or whatever, or things that people were saying. And I remember thinking back then, I was like, yo, if you have hundreds of thousands of people following you, or hundreds of thousands of subscribers or whatever, or you know, even a couple thousand, like, you just got to be prepared that some things are gonna be annoying. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you just gotta let people walk over you, but you have a certain amount of people, a certain amount of shit is just gonna be dumb. You know, a certain amount of things that people say to you are gonna be dumb. That's why I don't entertain trolls and shit like that, because I understand trolls are coming. The bigger you get, the more they are coming through. So like, you're never gonna get to me because I've already accounted for you, fam. I knew you were coming before you got here. So yeah, I don't really ever go that route, but yeah, I'm mostly just thankful to, you know, even have people really really wanting me to post content or wanting to see certain content. But when I'm looking at like what do I actually want to do and what brings me joy, I'm like, yo, these seasons take a long ass time to do. You know, I'm sitting here for 5 or 6 hours at a time. Then people want these consistently. So it's like, if I want to do these consistently, like if I want 2, 3, 4 of these in the same week, there's no way a video is coming out for these. It's just not. Because by the time I get done, I've got a 5 or 6 hour video file sitting here that I might need to cut down to like 10 minutes. I might need to cut this shit down to like 10 minutes and make it a funny video, make it an entertaining video. That process in itself is going to take me like all day, right? All day, might even take 2 days at sometimes to make an actual quality video. If you're gonna cut down a 6 hour thing into about 10 minutes, you got that is way more work than it sounds like. So you're gonna sit there with that, you're gonna post a video, and to not compete with yourself, at least the way I do it, I don't really want to post that video and then on the same day go stream, because then, you know, I'm taking away from myself at that point. It feels like maybe I'm overthinking that part, but that's just kind of how I see it. The only thing I'm comfortable with posting in the same day as other things is really the podcast. Like this podcast is going up today. I might end up streaming tonight. I haven't actually made an official decision on that yet. But so yeah, you got to account for a certain number of things like that. And so by the time it happens, if I've done, let's say, the 2006 season and I've made a video on it and I've posted that, and then I'm still got Legends League running, like, fam, you can easily run up just a week just like that before you get to the next sim. And then the second channel as well, which I haven't even posted on in probably like a couple of weeks now. Like, you see what I'm saying? I have so many different things going on that certain things just end up sitting for a while. And I'm like, okay, well, what's my favorite right now? What's bringing me the most joy out of what I'm doing? Chief, after 4 years of battling with YouTube algorithms and ups and downs of this platform and fucking adpocalypses, what's bringing me the most joy right now is the streaming. And that's just what it is. And there's a certain amount of time in a day, and I'm one person. And so that's what I'm giving most of my energy to right now. That's why it's the most successful out of everything that I'm doing. And yeah, long story short, that's why you don't get a video after every stream, because legitimately, like, we just did the 08 season, and so if I were to drop a video on that, you see I have the podcast as well. This takes time. I've been sitting here now for an hour and 15 minutes talking already. I got this podcast. I'm gonna have to do a little bit to it to get it posted. Like, fam, I've got a lot of things running at the same time. It could easily run up a week before I get to the next sim if I was making a video on it as well. And so I just try to make things, and that's another thing, right? I don't think, like, it's weird. Everybody's channel works differently. But I for real sometimes feel like mine gets held to a bit of a different standard, because I can see other channels where they'll be able to post like a 30-minute video of whatever they just did or whatever. And I would love if my YouTube channel responded to where I could just sit down and hit record and put some shit and have it be super successful. Reality has shown time and time again that's just not where my channel is. That's just not where it's been. And maybe it's a good thing, I guess, but the channel gets held to a certain standard where people want a certain type of video, and if it's not that type, then it generally does not do that well. And so while I would love, because again, I've seen some super successful channels where it's legitimately just, sit down, press record, do your thing, don't need bare minimum editing and post it. I would fucking love that, but then that would work better for this too. That would actually work better if I was able to just get these 6-hour video files and just cut this shit up exactly what's there, because that's the other thing. This is one thing I agree with the Black Okage on. With this goes back to what I was just talking about with actually being an entertaining streamer versus just like having a following because of who you are, because you already have a big name. If you have a Twitch VOD and you can't really make content off of that VOD, you see what I'm saying? Like, I sit here for 5 or 6 hours. That's a 5 or 6 hour video that gets made that I eventually download. if I can't turn that into, if there's not material there for me to be able to turn that into an entertaining video or to a video, then you question how entertaining that stream actually was. That I agree on with him with. I agree on him with that. If there's not actual content there for you, then you might have just been sitting there playing games for a certain amount of time, and it's really it's obvious and not like that. I could make way more Twitch VOD videos. I was doing that back when I first started on the third channel. Hell, last night, the 08 stream, I got one. I think I'm going to be posting the third channel stream highlight for that soon. But yeah, the Twitch VOD itself is a piece of content, and it's long, and, you know, of course you would like to cut it down so people actually, you know, go back and see it, because the amount of people that are going to click on the Twitch link, you just admit you know that's going to be, it's going to be lower than it would be if you could actually get it to YouTube. But yeah, like I tried that once. I tried to get the you know, so I could run these concurrently, so I could have some YouTube videos out for the sim, and also have a and also be able to like stream this consistently. I was like, okay, let me download my VOD, and since this is already content, it's entertaining content, let me go ahead and try to chop this up. Instead of having to sit here for days and trying to neatly compact this into 10 minutes, let me use the content that's already here and make content out of it, or, you know, produce a postable piece of content out of this. And the first feedback I got is, oh, where's the 10-minute video? Where's this? Where that? That's what I'm talking about with the standard, bro. That's what I'm talking about with the standard, because I see other shit where it's just like record, cut, boom. Beautiful. That does not work here, fam. It just doesn't. For whatever reason, it does not work here. And so, like I said, I'm not going to drive myself crazy over content. And so, long story short, you know, especially with the NBA back now too, there'll probably be more NBA related content, and you know, here and there I'll be able to post some things that may attract people to Twitch. But, you know, Twitch is standing up on its own these days as well, so I really don't need to drive myself in fucking insane trying to, you know, trying to mass produce videos on that after 6 hours of sitting here and talking. I be needing load management, bro. I lay down right after I get off stream. Like I told y'all that last stream. Yeah, I don't need to reiterate that. And the last question, the last thing we'll talk about in this podcast and podcast 60, we actually started talking about college quite a bit. We started talking about college on Twitch. I enjoyed that because that started from a really funny conversation we were having about like my middle school life and whatnot, which was back in 07, back once upon a time. And yeah, we were talking about, people were asking like, what did you learn most from college? What's your biggest takeaway and all that? And I was basically just telling like people in college, I just learned, you know, think before you act. No, not on no deviant shit. I'm talking about actually going. no deviant dom, bro. No. Yeah, especially now, it's very strange because when I very first started streaming, we probably talked about, because again, it was way more free talking back then, so we talked all about school and college back then. But now COVID has hit, so some people are going to be going to college, and now there's only education because maybe there's not going to be as many events, probably not going to be as much, you know, literally we live in the era of social distancing now for at least a year, at least that we know of. And so college is not the same experience as it was when I went, at least for now. But at least in the general question still remains, you know, and they were asking like, what'd you learn? And when I said that, I wanted to elaborate on it, because when I said that, you know, think before you act, I was just saying, I'm not on the side, I'm not too far to one side where I say, oh, college is a scam and everybody needs to, you know, do this or that, because it's not a one size fits all, right? It's not a one size fits all. Like I heard there was a video dropped, some content creator, what the fuck am I talking about? Agent Zero dropped a video apparently about how dropping out of college was his best move or something of the sort. And I saw Rusty, I didn't watch the video myself, but I saw Rusty Buckets tweeting about it and saying that you know, one size doesn't fit all and this doesn't work for everybody. So, you know, I've heard Agent. I remember when Agent actually did drop out. I remember he made a video years ago talking about why he was dropping out, and it made total sense for him, right? I mean, the guy was popping. It made total sense to him to do what he did. But I thought Rusty had a really good point when he was saying like, yo, everybody is not in position to be a 12th grader and start telling their parents, oh, well, you know, I don't know if I want to go to college yet, because there's so many things that go into that. Like, I think people make that sound really easy. Like, if you listen to Gary Vee and all, you know, people like him, they make that shit sound really, really easy, when in reality, there's a ton of, you know, societal pressure. There's so many, especially being that young when you're in the 12th grade, there's so much pressure to just go to college and figure it out along the way. Like, especially from, like, if you're from a really, you know, college loving family, because not every family is, but I would say most are. And that's like the parents' dream for you since you're a kid, right? Is to get you to college. So like not going isn't even an option. But I would say just just think in terms of one chatter in my one chatter on Twitch had a really good point. They were like, hey, it's not a terrible idea to go to community college for 2 years and then get a degree and then get 2 years at a big university. And that's the part that's hard probably to get through to some people, because again, because of societal pressures and whatnot. You're looking at a situation where ever since for me anyways, I was in the 5th grade, I believe, and they were showing us, I remember as I was exiting the 5th grade, they were showing us videos of like the next phases of our life, and they showed like a middle school and a high school basketball game, and then I'm probably having a false memory right now, maybe they started talking about college recruitment as well, and that's like the thing. They start making you dream about that big college with thousands of people and the big university. They start making you dream about that from a young age. And then as you get older, what else happens? Well, this one is I'm assuming most of my listeners are male, obviously. So we all know, from the majority of us, we get to a certain age, you start thinking about college women, you start thinking about college girls. And so you get to the 12th grade, and at least in my situation, again, I talked about that on Twitch, like I was in a situation where I knew I was getting certain scholarships because of what my grades looked like, so I never really had anybody put the price in my face. But me and Eric laugh about this often. I always say, like, bro, you could have put, when I was in the 11th or 12th grade, I'm still so young, right? You could have put any price in my face and said, hey, you realize that this is gonna, this, even because if you don't get a full ride, you're probably gonna end up with some debt. And I was like, you could put any price in my face when I was in the 11th or 12th grade, and it would not have deterred me from wanting to do 4 years at a university. It just wouldn't have, because by that point, I had been prepped, man. I had been prepped. I know everything that college entails, from the education part to the social part, the parties, all the crazy shit, right? So the crazy shit along with the education, there is no way you could look at 12th grade Dom and be like, yeah, so do you want to save yourself some, some time or some energy on the back end and do 2 years here and save yourself some money? Or do you want to do 4 years at a university? There's nothing you could have told me, especially when I'm visiting all these beautiful campuses and I'm seeing what's on the campus. There's no fucking way, man. There's no fucking way you could have convinced me that I'm not doing 4 years here. I needed those 4 years. I was at a young age too. I needed those 4 years. And so when they were asking me that question, I was just like, yo, think before you act, because like that's one thing I said on the podcast pretty much last year. I think we've talked about college a couple of times on the pod, and I had always said I don't think they talk about they don't go into detail enough with people who are actually about to go to college. I don't think they go into detail enough about the prices, because that's supposed to be a celebratory time in your life. That's a time where everybody's celebrating. You have a graduation dinner and everybody's congratulating you on going to college. So nobody, especially you at that time, you've just finished high school. It's a brand new time in your life. You're not thinking about the negative part 4 years away, especially at that age too, right? Like now I'm looking like 2024 to me doesn't seem that long away. But in 2012, well, okay, that was the wrong analogy. In 2013, you're talking to me about Dom in 2017. That shit seems like futuristic. 2017, that sounded like some shit with flying cars in it back in 2013. I wasn't thinking about 2017. I mean, obviously I was trying to get my degree and whatnot, but I wasn't thinking about what stresses I might feel in 2017. I wasn't worried about that. I was like slide me to this university, bitch. Drop me off at this university. Let me get this shit cracking, man. But yeah. It's very general advice, but I just say just give that thought, give that thought about what you actually want. And it's actually easier for some of y'all right now who are going to college, because again, now there's in most places only the education part. Again, like I said last pod, and I talked about it on Twitch as well, the guidelines that my old school sent out, and I read them because I was curious what school was going to look like now. And I was like, man, there's no way in hell that I would actually go live on campus, because there's no benefit to it almost right now. It's like you're doing it's a lot of effort for like the minimum return going to live on campus. And so there goes a chunk of the college experience. If I'm doing it online, it's literally just online classes, it's just education, which is a big part of that college experience. So it should be a lot easier now for somebody who to think about debt and to think about what they might save themselves now doing, especially with COVID. It will be a lot easier right now to think about, okay, maybe I should just do 2 years of online school at this much cheaper school, then make sure that there's a pathway to a bigger school if that's what you want to do. And yeah, obviously something like that is way easier now. But when you're in a regular infection infection-free life, COVID-free life, and you're looking at university, community. Like it takes a mature soul at that age to turn down university with everything that you've been prepped for at that age. So yeah, I just thought that was a really, college is always interesting because, I was actually there for like 4.5 or 5 years, I believe. 2013 to 2018. So yeah, I was there. Well, but I only actually did 4.5 years. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, there's a lot of different topics to go with college, and everything from mental health to time to, managing this. There's just so much shit, man. There's so much shit. But yeah, to elaborate on that Twitch conversation, no matter what age you are, just think, fam. Just think for yourself. At least give it some thought. I know it's an exciting time, but give it some thought. Your future self will thank you. If y'all are still here. I mean, hell, we might not be here in 4 more years, the way things are going. We're done here, man. We're done here. I have talked about everything that I care to talk about at midnight. We are an hour and a half in. Totally forgot, as I always do at the beginning, because I was just so excited about the NBA bubble. I still have people that'll message me and ask me, yo, is your podcast on any different platforms? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I am definitely on Spotify and iTunes. And I should say that at the beginning so people just know, but because by this point, I'm not sure the amount of people that make it to this ending point, but I appreciate you if you did. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to the channel name if you want notifications every time a new podcast drops, and I will see y'all in a few days on the next one.